Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Souji, and today we're picking up with where we left off with my Greece and Turkey cruise trip. If you haven't seen my last video on my time in Athens, you can check it out here. On embarkation day, our hotel emailed us saying that we could have breakfast on them. So I ordered this traditional Greek cheese platter that had feta, graviera, and manuri cheeses in it. This was actually a theme throughout the trip where whenever we ordered a traditional Greek or Turkish breakfast or it was served to us on the tours, it always involved a lot of cheese in the morning, which is not a bad thing at all. We then caught a taxi to the port, which as you can see here, you can kind of see it as you're driving in. This is the port of Piraeus, which is the Athens cargo port. So it's not like those ports in Florida where you're just seeing beach homes and everything outside as you're sailing away. You're really just seeing like cargo ships and like the industrial loading bay or whatever. So we were embarking on the Celebrity Silhouette for an 11-night Greece and Turkey cruise. And this was the smoothest embarkation I've ever had. Like it was only 30 minutes to get from the port onto the ship, which if you've been to like Port Canaveral or Fort Lauderdale, it takes way longer than that usually. So the ports that we're going on this cruise, as you can see on this map, were Mykonos, Santorini, Crete, Rhodes, Kusadasi, and Istanbul. We were particularly excited for Istanbul because this would be like our first time in the Middle East. This was my 9th cruise, but it was the first time I've ever had a balcony room, so I was really excited for that little bit of extra luxury. I spent many nights out on the balcony watching sailaways or stargazing every night. That was definitely one of the highlights of my trip. When you're on the top deck, you can't really see any of the stars because of all the lighting up there, but when you're on your balcony, there's not really much external lighting, so you can easily see all the stars on a clear night. Celebrity Cruises is actually my favorite cruise line because I absolutely love their food, their service, and their activities. So here's kind of an outline of how that was on this ship. The food on this cruise was pretty good. The buffet section was trying to do a theme every night, and half the nights it was like Greek or Turkish food. So even though because of the cruise leaving at maybe 8 p.m. we couldn't go out at night and have dinner there, we ended up eating really good Greek or Turkish food on the cruise itself. So I got to try a lot of new types of dips or like Turkish rice dishes, and they even had falafel or Mediterranean grilled veggies. The main dining room with the fancy seating also had a separate vegetarian menu every night with like 5 or 6 options, which was nice because I didn't have to choose from just the one veggie option of the day. They also had a vegan menu that you could pre-order from the day before so you could have it the next day. The only drawback of the main dining though is that we had anytime dining, but that meant that we apparently still had to make a reservation for a time, which defeated the whole point of anytime dining. But they were able to accommodate us within like 30 minutes of showing up to the dining hall, so it was fine. Next time I would probably just try to book a reserved time slot so I don't have to wait at all. Because some of the nights we would end up being so hungry, and when they said we had to wait 30 minutes, we would just end up going to the buffet anyway. Now that I've done a couple of celebrity cruises, I have status with them. So I was invited to the Captain's Club welcome party, which I'd never been to before, and it was pretty neat. They had unlimited drinks, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And then towards the end, they announced the person on the cruise who has done the most cruising with celebrity. And it was this like really old couple who was on their like 90th cruise or something with celebrity. There were plenty of activities on board, but I didn't really participate in most of them because this isn't like your typical Caribbean cruise where you kind of have 3 or 4 sea days along with 2 Caribbean port days. These European cruises are a lot more intense. So our itinerary was 1 day Mykonos, then directly Santorini, then Crete. And then we got 1 sea day to relax. So you're kind of so burnt out from the last 3 days of running around and doing excursions that you just want to get on the ship and relax for a day. Then we had Rhodes and Kusadasi back to back with, early morning tours and everything. So then we have another day to relax, followed by 2 more days in Istanbul. So those sea days were strategically put in a way where you get a break, but during that break, you just want to sit out on the balcony and do nothing. I did end up getting 2 massage treatments though on those days off. I ended up doing this seaweed detox wrap where they covered me up in all this clay and wrapped me up in foil like a burrito. And so that was definitely a new experience, and my skin was so soft afterwards. The other thing we did, which I wasn't allowed to film or take any photos of, was the inside of the ship tour, which I've always wanted to do. So we got to go down to, I think what they call I-95, which is that main artery that runs underneath the ship where the crew can just like quickly get from one part of the ship to the other and get materials in and out of the dining room, the laundry, etc. So in that, we got to visit the bridge, the engine control room, the laundry, the like trash processing area, and then the provisions where we got to see like the big warehouses filled with like huge cans of tomato sauce and huge olive oil jugs. So that was definitely a really cool experience. And if I had to do it again, I would probably pick one of the even bigger ships, like the Icon of the Seas or an Oasis class Royal Caribbean ship, to see how big everything is inside. So overall, this cruise was phenomenal, and it really cemented my love of celebrity cruises. It was such a perfect way to see Greece and Turkey, because I think I would have been really annoyed if I had showed up to Greece and had booked hotels and was island hopping and flying from place to place, because as I'll get into in the future videos where I'll go through each port in detail, not every port was for me, and I think having the one-day taster of each port showed me what I liked and didn't like, rather than if I had just showed up and stayed for 2 nights in each place and I ended up thinking I wasted my time. So as I said, the next few videos are going to be about all the different ports that we stopped at and what we saw there. So leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next videos.